Kia ora team. I was going to touch base on one of your questions that you had to do on Monday, question 2. So it's a good bit of feedback just to refer to, and this is going to be important for when you do your task 4 when we complete this unit. We still have a little bit left in this unit to do, particularly around how to practice or train effectively and how you break down a training session. But what we've touched on so far is obviously stages of learning and also guidance and feedback in this unit. So question 2, just to remind you, was looking at your weakness that you did in your, it has to be a skill that you did in task 3, so your weakness. If you chose to do a something such as power, you're lacking power, then you need to choose a skill such as a layup, dribbling, overhead pass, whatever you chose to do. It asked you in 2A was what stage of learning are you at with that weakness? B, what type of guidance, how would you apply this to your training? And C, what type of feedback and example and why that might be effective, that type of feedback for you. And you've got to refer it back to your stage of learning. And here, I've got Charles Barclay. If you haven't seen him, he's going to demonstrate, he's going to be at the motor phase, the understanding phase, which is the cognitive phase of learning. Where probably you may be at a little bit, particularly if it's your weakness, depending on your ability within the game and your skill level. And we should know the difference now between skill and ability. Skill, we'll look at this individual here. Charles Barclay, if you don't know, was a fantastic player in the 90s in basketball. So a lot of athleticism he has. However, that's not dictated through here well when he hits. However, I will show a change from where he used to be in 2008 to where he is a few years later. So this is a golf swing. It's basically how not to do it. He's at the cognitive phase, which is the first learning. He is, obviously, you're going to see in here, very clumsy. Is very inconsistent as shot. And obviously, he'll see from its external feedback, which is where the ball's going to go, where isn't very successful, and obviously he'll be getting cues from his coach, but this is a bit of a fun round for him. Let's little play it now. As I'm heading out, obviously we'll just pop to where he is now with this hitting. As you can see, there's hit a weird sort of backswing when he hit it, and we'll just move into where he's hitting now. So as we saw in the first one, he's at this phase here. On a phase, he's first stage of learning, where some of you may be at with your weakness that dictated in your assignment. You'll feel like you're pretty clumsy at it. You'll be inconsistent with how it's done, and you're looking at external feedback. So where's that ball going when you shoot, or where it's hit in golf. Where we might have seen him in that second one was at the associative phase. And this one here, we're looking at, he's getting visual clues, and his visual cues are now replaced with the proprioception. So how it feels. We all had that before when we hit a tennis ball, or we kick a rugby ball or a football or hit a hockey. We know when we're at this, starting to get to this level, if it's been a successful shot by this, how it feels. He's obviously getting to that point now. He obviously is still, when we look down at this level, he's still reasonably inconsistent in respect of he's only hitting, say 5 out of 7. It was still went right, the golf ball. So you're still room for improvement, but you're starting to get this internal feedback, kinesthetic feedback from if it's feeling good, and it becomes more consistent, the skill, and you start to look a lot more fluent. If we work to someone who's plays a lot of golf and is a scratch golfer, then what we start to see is that they're at the autonomous stage. They're starting to spin the ball when they hit it, trying to dictate, does it spin in the air or has backspin when it lands, and looking at placement rather than trying to just hit it straight. So this is the final stage. Some of the top basketball players will be at this stage, possibly in our class. you're consistently doing it, it feels good, and it looks pleasing when you look at it. You're involved in your long-term memory, so it's difficult to learn it. You can come back to it a month later and still do the skill successfully. It's like riding a bike when you're at that higher level. And many of us will be at the autonomous stage, for instance, when we're riding a bike, because we're able to start to look at those sort of tactics or in a game. But if we're riding a bike, we're looking at where the bike is. A door going to open on us? Is that light in front of me going to stop or go to green? I can bike with my hands on the wheel. I'm at an autonomous stage to the point where now, I can mountain bike and do some trickier things. And you're doing, say, if you're doing a free throw, you're getting 9 out of 10 successfully, which is right at the top level. So we've looked at question A. What stage of learning are you at why, and why? So choose one of those stages of learning. Dictate, you should have described why you're at there, so reinforce it with some of those little bit of information that's on the PowerPoints that I went through, or you can do your own research because you're going to have to do this shortly for your task 4. More you can do now, limit the load later on, and it's obviously a lot more understanding. Obviously, this information is also going to be in the end of year exam. You have to link in B, question 2B. What type of guidance and how would you apply this to your training? So you've got to link this in with what stage of learning. Some of these types of guidance on how to give information. So how would a coach upskill you? They have a toolbox of things that they can use. Again, this has to be all dictated around your learning level. So you can do visual. Again, you see this. You can watch someone in the class do the skill effectively. You can also nowadays get an iPad or your phone, look at the skill on an expert on how they do it well, and be like, okay, cool, that's what I do, or watch it in slow-mo, then go and perform the skill. You can also video yourself or get someone to film it, then come back and have a look, and you can either get a coach to give you bits of feedback, or if you're at the autonomous level, you can start to see what you're doing wrong and give yourself some feedback. So do a layup, come back, look at yourself, someone's videoed you, and be like, okay, cool. I didn't jump off the right foot, or I didn't really lift my right leg up enough, didn't extend my arm that has the ball out, didn't hit that point on the backboard, didn't put a bit of backspin on it, whatever it might be. This is a visual feedback. It can be really effective when we go through it, and it's very effective at the lower level. If you can see what they do, it makes sense to you. Most of you will be at this level, so hey, this will probably be one that you may pick. Verbal, again, we've heard this before. Someone who talks to you all the time and gives you a lot of instructions. It does provide instant feedback, and you can work off that. They can give it to you in real time as you're playing. However, it's not the best if it's really complex. You might get confused and then just sort of blank out the rest of what he's saying. And it depends on how much someone actually is giving you feedback. It becomes white noise after a while. And you may be like that in class when I talk to you. You sort of click off because I'm talking all the time. And don't click off now. But that's something you can talk about and explain what works well for you, but you got to justify it. This, again, is looking at that middle stage, the associative phase, and the autonomous stage works really well. Not so much for the cognitive phase or the early phase, the novice sort of phase. So do talk about that. If it does work for you from previous experience, then, again, you can fold that in as long as you justify it. Manual, again, this is, if we look at, is really the beginner stage, cognitive stage. It can be really demotivating if you're at a skill level higher and someone comes along and sort of starts moving your arms, can make you feel uncomfortable. But at the learning point, when they say, hey, have your elbows close into you, this is how you hold the ball, and actually physically moves your hands on how left hand support the ball. If you're doing a free throw, right hand here, this is how much you want to bend. Your knees are going in front of your toes, and they actually are sort of manipulating you and how you position. Again, that might be something that works well for you right at the start and gets you in the right track on how you're meant to jump or whatever aspect you're meant to do. Mechanical, hey, probably not used so much in basketball, but for instance, in gymnastics and other sports like that, diving, it does remove some of the fear and particular novice helps you gain a lot of confidence in it. And again, it's at that medium level, not so much at the top level. But if someone was learning a really complex skill, I know for my wife, when she was learning to do ski jumping, they would practice flipping and have these around them when they're learning to do, say, a double black flip or something along those lines. They would use this to build the confidence and understand the feeling in the body through that proprioception, their body giving them internal feedback as they go through it. Your third question was, what type of feedback would be effective for you and why? So when you're practicing your weakness, and you're going to have to design a training session shortly. There'll be more information to come on that. But you've got to think, what type of feedback am I going to get? You've got your guidance up there. But the type of feedback I might have is intrinsic feedback, comes from the inside. So again, you research this, what proprioception is, it's how it feels, right? You know, sometimes when that ball goes off, it's like, that's not going in. Or if it's like, you see people kick a ball or throw it and they're just sort of running back because they know it's going in from that feel. You start to only get this at the medium or higher levels, not so much at the learning beginner level. But it is something to think about and dictate. Intrinsic there's two types. Did you get the ball in and did you score? Or someone is giving you feedback. You flipped your hands too much on one side. You actually didn't extend your right hand out enough. You jumped off the wrong foot on the layup, whatever it might be. There are two different types. You dictate which one works for you and why, and also relate it to your skill level. So this works really well for someone who is at the beginner stage, where I'd say the majority of you may be. You got to dictate why out of these. So seeing it go in and what someone's giving to you. So you might, if you're designing a drill, have a friend, they might be at a higher level, or someone else, giving you bits of feedback each time. Or as I said, knowledge of performance can be feedback from a video that's just taken of you, and you get, come back, if we do next one, oh cool, right, I need to work on that a little bit more. As we go through it, you can compare yourself against a professional. Here, obviously, if it's done well, it can be motivating. If it's not done well, and it can be quite negative, or there's too much information given to you, it's too technical. If you're at the beginning level, it can be a negative aspect to you. So with this feedback, thanks for listening. With this feedback here, go back to that answer. I know I said it's about 8 lines worth of work. Anything in here, because if you do some more of the work now, it's going to lessen the load when task 4 comes out, and it's obviously fresh in your mind now how all these bits link together. The guidance links to your stage of learning, your feedback links to your stage of learning, and also guidance, how it's all delivered. Hopefully it's creating a little bit of a picture now. It's really going to support your work that you're going to have to do for task 4. More information will come out about that. We still have another couple of sort of aspects of this unit to go. As always, guys, I encourage you to ask me questions, send me an email if you're confused about anything. I am looking through your Google Docs, just checking that you're up to date, and add bits to I'll put more of these screencasts out just to give you bits of feedback as you're going through it. Any questions, please do email me or ask on the social stream. Thanks for listening, gents.